Hello guys and welcome back to HJW Gaming and week 4 of my server update series. Now you guys really enjoyed hearing from the other leaders of other factions, so once again I've gone out and I've spoken to a couple of the other leaders who we missed off from the last episode and got their opinions as well. We have Thrall, the leader of Isengard, who has given us his opinion in Spanish, which I will include a breakdown in English for you as well, for my English watchers. We also have the leader of Rohan as well, and we have an officer of Theo, the other Linden clan that we didn't hear from last time. And more importantly, we've also hear from the leader of Erebor, who is someone who we've played previous seasons with, I think I mentioned, and is kind of not our biggest fan of the two clans in Gondor, so definitely stick around to hear that one. But first, I'll quickly run through what's changed since the last time that we spoke through and show the updates of the server. Now you can see we are currently positioned slightly differently. We are positioned up in North Ravenian, up in central Mirkwood. I think last time we spoke we were sat on this border with Lth Lauran on the other side. As you can see on the map, there has been somewhat of a capital switcheroo all around the map. So I'll start with the kind of west side and then talk about our progress up this eastern side, as well as Mordor's as well, as you can see. Now, starting in the kind of western side of the map, the main change here, Angmar still has its lands, Lth Lauran still holds a capital in the north in Carndum. But the main thing is that Linden have reclaimed the Grey Havens. As I said in the last episode, we were helping Linden kind of deal with Isengard after Isengard had taken their capital, and we had taken the Isengard capital of Orthanc in return. Linden did, earlier in the week, take the Grey Havens back from Isengard, recapturing it, and now are moving to basically remove threat from their lands. As you can see, most of their spawn region now is Linden land, apart from that which has been picked up by Angmar. There is a couple of Gondor regions, of course, which we're kind of keeping around this capital that we seek to keep in our control in the run-up to season end rewards when they come. If you look towards the south, we do have some movement down here as well. Isengard are fighting pretty hard to try and get back towards their capital. You can see there's some scrapping here between them and Linden to stop Linden from continuing to pursue them and pick up their lands, of course, as having lost their capital to Isengard, Linden is continuing to try and push Isengard to take their lands away in return. And Isengard are equally fighting us as well, trying to regain their capital region. So there's two big pins there, both from Isengard. There's over 12 million here in participants, so these are pretty, getting pretty juicy up here. And there's another one here for about 400k. So there's a lot of participants there from Isengard. So they're scrapping to kind of keep their position in the server and do what they can, and try and keep whatever regions they can. Meanwhile, they've also pushed south into Rohan's lands. So if you look on the Fellowship kind of power rankings of all of the factions, Rohan do come out on the lower end, and therefore Isengard know they're able to make progress when they do attack into Rohan lands. Obviously, they're being somewhat outnumbered in the north, as both Gondor, or at least a contingent of Gondor, along with all of Linden, is against them, so they have a lot more resistance than if they push south. So they have pushed through this southern pass here, which is different to previous, as they had previously pushed earlier in the season through this pass, and they knew that therefore Gondor had placements to potentially come and assist Rohan and repel them. So what they've done instead is come through this southern pass, which is quite a lot further away from the original pass they came through, and it makes it a lot more difficult for us, of course, as a lot of our bases are located around the central regions. So trying to get down here is a bit of a pain, as we'd have to create a lot of forts, traverse a huge number of crossings, and also try and get our reinforcements through Paths of the Dead, which can be an absolute nightmare as our reinforcements clash into each other, as many of the players who were previously located around Langstrad when we were helping down here have of course now moved away. So they picked up Andrast here, Andrast Keep, so they now have a little bit of a foothold in the southwest, taking it from Rohan, and you can see there's about 5 million ping here with them as well, pushing into West Nan Lefnui and trying to kind of encroach further on Rohan's area. So Isengard, as you can see, 3 red pings, 1 orange, 1 yellow. They're definitely putting up one hell of a fight, scrapping for their lives here and doing a brilliant job of it. And of course we will hear from the Isengard leader later on. Kind of up in this northern area, I didn't also cover this ping where you can see that a little bit of Lth Lauran is kind of fighting with Linden as well. This is primarily Neon, who are kind of the second fellowship in Lth Lauran. They are a season 3 fellowship, doing fantastically well for themselves. As I've said in previous videos, given kind of everyone as good as they've got, and here it's just primarily fighting over this pass, trying to prevent, as you can see, or trying to gain it from Linden so they can then further push into Linden's area. As you can see, they have captured this side and are now sieging actually this pass as we speak. The way they've been able to do that is, I will kind of speak over this region now, as we were fighting on this pass with Central Mirkwood, sorry, not this one, we were fighting over this pass here, in Central Mirkwood, which we did capture at the start of the week. It was one hell of a battle, put it that way. We had to take it over 5, 6, maybe even more than that, different full team pushes, as of course we had to clear all the Lth Lauran armies and then clear all armies on the pass. This is a weaker pass, so 30 level 35 armies, and then siege. But of course with the enemy defending, you can't really send in siege armies. We're having to send in our fully equipped battle armies to hopefully deal a little siege at a time, just to prevent our siege from being sniped by the opposition. So it did take us a little while to get there, but once we did, we have pushed round and gained another capital. We have picked up the Elven King's Halls from Lth Lauran, so we now have another capital towards our goal. Which leaves Lth Lauran, of course, with a capital still, as they do have this one, Carndurm Inn, that they took from kind of the North Linden land, so they do still have a capital, of course, as neutral at season start. And the way they've been able to do that is, once they were relocated from their capital region, a lot of them appeared here in Ered Mithrim, which then allowed them to push over and retake this pass here across into Linden lands. Last time we spoke, we had cleared this and kind of prevented them from travelling into this area, of course, so that we could stop them. Well, it's for 2 reasons. We wanted to stop them from travelling into Linden lands to support Linden, who at the time were being overwhelmed by both Lth Lauran and Isengard, but also it meant that any Lth Lauran players who'd located themselves on this western side of the map were then trapped on the western side of the map and unable to relocate across to the capital region, so they couldn't help with that capital defence. So it was a kind of a clever strategic move, but since they've all been relocated close and we were primarily over in Central Mirkwood, they have recaptured this and therefore been able to push across a lot more, so that they can then push into these Linden areas here. And you can see there's a small ping here as well with Angmar. But yeah, that's how they've been able to come over. You can see we have, as I've shown, re-scrapping around this pass as we try and lock the area back down again. Lots of combat going on here. 8 million ping. It's not the biggest ping, but it's pretty decent. It's nothing compared to what we had during that fight with Lth Lauran. Low 30s, high 20s, as far as millions of participants are concerned. But you can tell we're being kind of spread all over the map here. You have Gondor fighting down here and also the opposite side of the map up here, so we're kind of all over the place at the minute. There's nowhere where all of Gondor's force is located. That's where most of our work's been done. As far as Mordor is concerned, they've had quite a bit of successful progress. You can see they've taken, of course, Southern Anduin Vale, which I spoke of previously. They also successfully pushed on Mordor, as last time they were being driven back somewhat by the combination of Lotھ Lauran and Erebor, which we had supported. Since we'd then taken Lotھ Lauran off their hands, they were able to go toe-to-toe with Erebor, which they've successfully then pushed through the pass into their lands, and did eventually take Erebor as well from the Erebor faction, of course. From there, they've continued to push north and also captured Withered Heath, which of course leaves Erebor currently without a capital, but they do have Iron Hills, and they have also captured the Greater Rune Keep from the Rune faction. So as you can see, there's a lot of scrapping still going on over here. There's nearly a 10 million ping as Mordor and Rune go ham with Erebor. Erebor kind of obviously scrapping to keep whatever lands they can and do what they can to keep fighting. And Rune kind of doing the same as well and supporting Mordor as they have all the way through the server. So it's kind of similar story to last episode, really, in that our alliance is not surprisingly taking more areas of the map and currently on progress for a win. Ring fight will have to happen soon. I'll show season progress. But the main thing is that there is fighting all over the map. There are red pings everywhere. And these pop up, all the time as players get relocated to different areas or the opponent switches strategy. New pins, of course, will ping up as a new threat emerges. So it's great to see that everyone on the map is kind of getting involved. Everyone has a ping. Even Angmar up here, of course, has their own ping as well, which is great to see. Now, as I said, season progress has, of course, ticked along. We did yesterday, so I'm recording this on the Wednesday the 15th. On the Tuesday, it did tick across to the Dol Guldur, so that has now opened up, which means at some point one faction will be able to occupy the ring area. As you can see here, it's currently surrounded by Mordor and Gondor, of course, as are parts of the Alliance. And at some point in the not too distant future, there will of course be a kind of have to be some kind of fight between ourselves, an arranged fight in order to see who is the strongest and who can lay claim to the ring. So that would be great. I'll try and video it when it happens, just so I can keep it in for my next season update for you all. So hopefully you can look forward to that. The main thing here though is that Southern Anduin Vale has been captured by Mordor, as they prepare, of course, their location in order to engage in that fight with us. So you will see the ring probably taken before the next episode, or at least potentially by next episode. It depends, of course, how far away from all of our regions we can push our opponents, as we'll need to get them far enough away that if we do have a ring battle that could potentially span several days, we need to not have our resources encroached too heavily or heavily enough to affect the outcome for either side. So once that's in place, the ring battle can then take place. As far as personal progress is concerned, production wise we still sit, so we're about 18th. We have dropped a fair few tiles, mainly because we had quite a bit of production in Southern Anduin Vale, which of course since been picked up by Mordor, they have quite rightly stripped for their own resource. So we've dropped a few big tiles, which isn't honestly the end of the world. Fellowship production looks very similar, but there have been a few kind of up and downs. Of course, ourselves and Mordor are the two biggest producing factions with 2 fellowships each in the top 5. As we have the most regions, it's unsurprising that, of course, that we have the highest number of kind of large tiles. So Dawn at the top, Shady in 2nd, with Home in 3rd, and then Logo in 5th. And then in 4th and 6th is Linden, who have of course picked up a huge amount of land in that western side since regaining it from Isengard, which has in turn knocked Isengard down to 10th and 11th as far as production is concerned. So a lot of credit to Isengard here, who are continuing all those fights and all those red pings with a very starved resource production. So they're doing a great job. Elsewhere we have, of course, Lotھ Lauran, who similarly have been forced down to 7th and 8th, which is, again, unsurprising as they've been forced into only a couple of regions, and having lost their capital spawn region, that's a large amount of their base resource taken. And then down below them, you do also have the active factions of Rune, who are fighting with Erebor, of course. So they lost a lot of resource when they lost lands to Lth Lauran or Erebor, which they then tried to gain back. But of course, a lot of those tiles may have been picked up by Mordor as well when they supported them. And then you have Rohan with similar, with Isengard and Gondor as well. I believe Rohan are primarily picking back up tiles in their region at the minute as well. So that's kind of where the fellowships are sitting at the minute. It's kind of obvious now, barring any changes, how this is likely to pan out. As of course, at least by production, you can see the top 6 is all taken by kind of our side of the alliance, with then the following 5 taken up by the opponents, and then it again goes back to 3 of ours. So there is, at this point, quite a heavy sway in our favour as far as production goes. As far as these alliances go, at this point, obviously, it looks heavily imbalanced. And server balance is one of those things that's always been a hot point of discussion, particularly in this server, and it's always a tough one because this could have come down really either way. It was relatively balanced, definitely, when Lth Lauran, Isengard and Erebor were attacking Mordor and Gondor at the same time. It was maybe slightly in their favour, of course, with the higher number of players, but it was relatively balanced. The problem was always going to be that it's unrealistic to expect a faction like Linden, who at the time were one of the top producers and they still are at this point, to sit out the server. So they were going to come down on one side or the other. As I spoke in a previous episode, you had Fear of Linden, who had made agreements with Isengard, and you had Theo, who had made agreements and spoken with us. So they were going to come down one side or the other. So the server was never going to remain balanced. It was either going to be imbalanced from my perspective, for us, or imbalanced against us. Fortunately for us, it's come down on our favourable side. However, it's one of those sticking points that you can't always balance a server, which is a real shame, because I think if one of the other factions had maybe one very strong fellowship in it, maybe a second fellowship in Rune or another in Rohan, all it would take is one big fellowship in there, and this server probably would have been it's already a bit of a melting pot with a lot of fighting going on, but it probably would have been kind of a very perfectly balanced server, which is a real shame that it was close but not quite there. And of course it has come down in our favour, which I'm grateful for, but at this point you can see the resource, it's definitely a little bit too far in our favour at the moment, but there's a lot of time still left to play, so we'll see how this pans out in the future, particularly with the ring fight on the horizon. As far as contribution goes, we have dropped out of the top 10. As you can see, I've been pretty busy this week, so I've dropped out of a lot, and I'm not the biggest fan of taking capitals away from opposition, so I wasn't engaged once we moved past the pass on Lth Lauran, so that didn't gain me a huge amount of contribution or merit, but we are still sitting high. Of course, you want to get that top 50 for personal rewards. As far as commanders go, we have leveled up a few of our commanders. We have got Dane up to level 47 with our other trio at level 46. We have started also levelling up our secondary team, as you see here, with them getting to 42 and 41, as we've been kind of testing them out in the background, gaining a little bit of merit with them where possible, and seeing how effective they can be. We've also unlocked Bayon, funnily enough, but he's only respect 0 at the minute, but expect to see him in future if we can keep getting his respect up. So yeah, with that we can kind of go into speaking to the other remaining leaders and getting their take on the rest of this server. So if I go back to the leaderboard, we'll kind of go down the list and speak one by one. So we'll start with Theo. And the person who has covered for them is a player called Magic Man. So he is one of the officers of Theo, and I'll kind of let him explain it himself.
Hi, Magic Man is here. I'm the diplomat of Theo. Our season start was not the best. We had some complications with Fear. Some missing communication and misunderstandings because Fear wanted to ally with Isengard, and we Theo wanted to ally with Gondor and Mordor. In the end, we were able to agree on Gondor and Mordor. Yeah, hopefully this was our best decision this season. Yeah, so then we started pushing Isengard to help Gondor, and it went well for us in the beginning, but then they beat us with their very strong activity. Hey, you're very good. Isengard, you're good. Very good. Okay? Yeah. Mm, and yeah, you were not able to defend them without help. And then we asked home for help, and they did send us help that we can get back our capital. And thankfully, uh, now have back our capital. Thank you, Gondor. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we try to get back our land, and I wish you all a nice season and good luck for everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you for that, Magic Man. Next up, we then have, as I scroll down, we have the leader of Bull from Erebor. Of course, I said this is the faction that aren't our biggest fans, but thank you very much to Kingda for providing this to me, and I very, very much appreciate it. So, without further ado, we'll let him commence.
Hello together, I am the current leader of the Burning Llamas and we are playing Erebor this season. In the beginning of the season, we had to hope for a balanced server and an interesting season, and it started really great with fights against Mordor. Love and Eason had very good fights against Gondor, and we all enjoyed the PvP. But the server changed a lot after Gondor, especially Home and Dawn, built a mega alliance to control the server. They have so many strong players, and with all the fellowships behind them, the server was not balanced anymore. As you can see on the map, the Mega Alliance grows day by day. They are going stronger and stronger. So there are no options for the others to gain resources. PvP gets harder and harder. But we decided continuing fighting because there's no way to give up and we want to do the best out of the season. But it's really funny because it's same as last season. Home and Dawn have a talent to kill the server. Good thing is that we have Love and Eason this season with us. So we can fight till the end. Otherwise, the server would have died 2 weeks earlier. I hope for the future there will be ranked fellowships so the servers are much more balanced and we have much more fun for the players. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak at your channel, and the Burning Llamas wish everyone on the server good fights till the end. See you.
Thanks again for that, Kingda. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you guys' participation in this. Next up, we have Isengard and their leader, Thrall. Now, as I said, this is in Spanish, as Thrall is a Spanish player. I still appreciate him sending this over, and I will include a translation in text on the screen, which hopefully should be in a reasonably good time with what's being spoken. Though, of course, I'm not a Spanish speaker, but I will try. I'll try my best to time this well. And yeah, thank you again to Thrall for sending this over.
Hola, soy Thrall, líder del equipo Morgoth. Antes que nada quiero dar las gracias a HJV Gaming por darme la oportunidad de compartir mi experiencia con toda la comunidad del Señor de los Anillos. Empecemos. El equipo de Morgoth tiene un historial de 15 temporadas, las últimas jugando con mi amigo Bubi, líder del equipo de Ison. Ambos estamos en Isengard en esta temporada. Durante las primeras semanas estuvimos en la sexta y séptima posición compitiendo con Home por ocupar el quinto puesto. En este momento habíamos conquistado todas las regiones de Isengard y 2 de Eriador, lo que nos permitía tener un acceso al anillo y mantener controlado a nuestro vecino Lindon. Al inicio de la temporada se nos presentaron dos posibles alianzas, una con Gondor y Mordor, la opción más fácil para asegurar la victoria, y la segunda opción la tuvimos con Lórien y Erebor, lo que mantendría el equilibrio del servidor y la diversión durante mucho más tiempo. Así que elegimos la segunda opción, ya que además habíamos coincidido con Lórien en otras temporadas y conocíamos todo su potencial. A esta alianza se sumaba Lindon, que nos ofreció su amistad desde el primer día. Lo lógico en este punto era que Rohan y Rune se unieran a Gondor y Mordor para equilibrar el servidor en un 4 versus 4. Continuando con nuestro avance por la entrada de la torre de Durin, conseguimos capturar Khazad-dûm. Tras una dura batalla con ayuda de Lórien y reubicamos la mayoría de nuestras bases para seguir avanzando hacia Gondor. Mientras nosotros luchábamos en el este, Lindon conquistó todas sus tierras, Angmar y la mitad de Eriador, lo que le proporcionó una economía muy fuerte. Es en este momento cuando nuestro aliado Lindon nos traicionó. Esto cambió nuestros planes iniciales. Ahora debíamos seguir nuestro avance contra Gondor, defendiéndonos de los ataques de Lindon desde el norte y de Rohan desde el sur. Ante esta situación decidimos retirarnos del frente de Gondor para detener a los nuevos enemigos. Conseguimos frenar las entradas de ambas facciones. Enviamos un pequeño escuadrón a Rohan que consiguieron avanzar y tomar 2 de las regiones de Rohan, mientras que la mayoría del equipo luchaba en el norte contra Lindon. Tras superar las defensas de Lindon en la entrada, avanzamos hacia su capital, a pesar de sus esfuerzos por querer dividir nuestras tropas con su ataque a Cardolan. Ataque que ignoramos para poder conquistar su capital de forma rápida. Tanto Rohan como Lindon tuvieron que solicitar la ayuda de Gondor para frenar nuestro avance. Gondor avanzó sobre nuestras tierras intentando llamar nuestra atención, conquistando varias regiones y finalmente Orthanc. Optamos por sacrificar nuestra capital sin defenderla, para seguir con nuestro avance en el norte, donde conseguimos ocupar 5 regiones, además de la capital Puertos Grises. Gondor junto a Rohan siguieron con su avance, sin resistencia en el sur, y envió parte de sus tropas al norte. Se crearon 4 puntos de batalla importantes, uno en el sur contra Rohan y 3 en el norte contra Lindon y Gondor. Ante esta situación, nos vimos obligados a abandonar el norte, ya que Gondor estaba eliminando nuestras bases en retaguardia, mermando nuestras fuerzas. De vuelta en nuestras regiones iniciales, nos encontramos intentando recuperar nuestras tierras. Hemos expulsado a Rohan y asegurado la entrada sur para evitar su avance. Estos hechos demuestran el poder de Gondor, ya que, de no ser por su intervención, probablemente hubiésemos conseguido seguir con nuestro avance. Las estadísticas ponen de manifiesto la gran resistencia de Isengard, que ha llegado a tener 9 pines de batalla en el mapa, 4 de ellos superando el 1.000.000. Aún queda mucha temporada por delante. Isengard sigue vivo y con muchas ganas de seguir mostrando toda su valía.
Thank you, Thrall. Very much appreciated for that. And last, but by certain means not least, we do have Rohan as well, and this is the leader of Pies, who is Crosshair. Unfortunately, Crosshair was unable to send me through a voice message, but he has sent me through a message to read out for you all. So it goes as follows. He says, "Hi everyone, my name is Crosshair, leader of Rohan, but most of you will know me as Sin's IKP Lemon. This is Rohan's story. We began the season with one goal, and that was to have fun. So we decided to focus on our own region before we joined the party with everyone else. Once we broke through the pass to the inner region, Gondor, and only Gondor, reached out to us. We accepted terms with them and therefore began our fight in the other direction with Isengard. Pies and Rohan fought valiantly for 3 days, holding Lth Lauran Pass, but Isengard had the numbers and broke through into our lands, where they then spread into West Lth Lauran as well. Gondor offered help, and Rohan accepted. For the record, I did warn Gondor about Paths of the Dead, which is what I mentioned earlier about our reinforcements unfortunately being taken out. But soon after, Gondor cut off Isengard's reinforcements at the Nan Lefnui Pass, which allowed Rohan to break through the Undrast Pass so we could reclaim our home region. Thanks to Gondor, Rohan has pushed Isengard out of Rohan lands and has pushed into Isengard's. It's been a great fight with Isengard. They are very tough. Keep up the fights, never say die, and good hunting. Now, of course, since that message, there has been movement, as I've shown earlier, around that Andras Pass again, with the kind of back and forth between Rohan and Isengard. But thank you very much, Crosshair, for sending that message through. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed hearing from the rest of the leaders. I think it's really good to get a balanced perspective of everyone's opinion in the server, you know, those that are both for and against us. So it's great to see so much participation from every faction in the server. If you guys have enjoyed these videos, please smash the like button and please subscribe to see more of my seasonal content in the future, including hopefully the end to the season, no matter what that brings. And with that, I've been HJW Gaming, and I hope to see you on the next one.